Imagination, creativity, and the scientific art of staying alive. Hi, I'm Dr. Desiree Cox. Logic will get you from A to B. Imagination will take you everywhere. Albert Einstein. So I want you to picture green fields, pristine lawns, hedges that are perfectly cut, swatches of color, flowers, and spires, scholarly spires in the background. The place is Cambridge University. The year is 1997. That was my outer world. My inner world was very different. I was at Cambridge, I was doing my PhD, and I was homeless. I was in the last 9 months of my PhD when I ran out of funds. And so you can imagine the stress of that. It was a pivotal moment in my life. Here I was. I'd started off as a little kid in the Bahamas with visions of this future. I'd seen quantum mechanics on Scientific America. As a result of that, I decided to study quantum chemistry at McGill University. My professor had suggested that I apply for a Rhodes Scholarship. I was fortunate enough to get that, and so I had studied medicine at Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar. What I didn't expect was to be gripped by what I saw when I was practicing. And what I saw was this world in which there was a system of knowledge. There was a system, there was a way we did medicine. And I asked myself the question, why? Why is this the structure of medical knowledge? Why are clinical trials at the heart of that? How did this come to be? And I was engaged by the system of how we learned and the field around that medical knowledge in ways that was different to my colleagues. And so I studied medicine in the hospitals during the day, and at 5 o'clock in the morning, I read in all areas, all disciplines about medicine, knowledge, anthropology, all of that. And that led me to decide to do my PhD at Cambridge immediately after my medical school, unlike my colleagues who went on to do their internship. And I got a scholarship for that, but in that last 9 months, I ran out of money. And so the question was, I could have gone and done my internship straight away, but I decided I had to finish this thesis. I had to get to the bottom of this system. And so there I was on this bus with all of these panic-stricken ideas just in my head, the battle of why am I being so boneheaded, so stubborn about this? And in that moment, I had this moment of absolute clarity. And it came from like the pit of my stomach rising right through me. And it was this: I will not go through life not knowing who I truly am. And that became my prime directive in those very formative years. I tell you that story because it turns out that who we are, why we're here, is really at the core of a new paradigm of super longevity. And the new physics, unified sciences, the unified physics, unified biophysics, is producing some key points in that area that I think can inform this field. It's also producing a lexicon, a new language to create this new paradigm. That's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to summarize and synergize that information, connect it with regenerative medicine, and leave with some suggestions for the future. There are 3 perceptual shifts that are relevant for super longevity. They come from unified physics and unified biophysics. They begin with the mathematics that have been formalized by Albert Einstein, right through, more recently, to Nassim Haramein Resonance Science Foundation. And they've also been expanded by people like Buckminster Fuller and Dr. Joe Dispenza and others. The first is that we are not solid. We are made out of 99.9999% space, and that space is spinning. So picture this. We have 30, 40 trillion cells made of atoms and protons and electrons, all of them spinning. All of these little particles in space are mini black holes. They're all connected, and they're spinning, and they're moving through and in and out of us. The second perceptual shift is that we are bathing in a field of energy. We are unique, miraculous, coherent energy machines. We're burning at about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 24/7. So that space that is spinning is also full of energy. It's not empty. The third perceptual shift is that we're connected to everything. Those protons that are spinning, electrons that make up the cells, all of them together, all of them spinning, all of them connected coherently. The 0.000% that makes up matter is due to electrostatic connection between those. And those protons, the universe loses no energy. And so those protons are connected to protons from the beginning of time and through to infinity. So we're intimately connected to everything that ever was and everything that will be. So what are the implications of that for super longevity and a unified interoperable system for regenerative medicine? Well, first, I think they lie in two areas. One is in product and personal engineering, and the other is in regulatory areas. I'm going to talk about the first one. When we think about stem cell regenerative medicine, we should think about combination therapies that not just involve injecting stem cells, but also sending messages to the cells through resonance. And there are a number of different resonance technologies we can use for that. We should also be thinking in terms of nanoparticles, nanopeptides, nanogold, nanosilver, nanozinc. What's going on inside the cells and the charge inside of the cells? That's affecting the milieu, the atmosphere, the environment of those cells. We should also think in terms of coherence of groups. HeartMath, for instance, and there has a HeartMath coherence project, is showing that if groups of people meditate, you literally can make random generators become coherent. And finally, in our personal engineering, we should remember that because we are connected to everything, the engineering work that we need to do is about tuning in to that energy and tuning our bodies into these fine energy transfer machines. I started this by sharing with you part of my personal story back in the time of Cambridge, the dark night of the soul. In the years that have followed, I've worked in general medicine and surgery and in psychiatry. I've also consulted to pharmaceutical companies looking to take their products to market, and more recently, in the last 5 years, have been helping low to middle income countries like the Bahamas create regulatory systems that create a safe passage for new novel therapies that patients want and that the world needs. And one of the things that I've been struck by is the barrier of language, the way we have structured our current medical system, and the barrier of that for novel therapies. Noam Chomsky and Ludwig Wittgenstein, in his latter years, in philosophical reflections, point to this one key fact: language creates, influences, shapes our reality. And that's important. If we want to create a new system, we need a different lexicon. Our current lexicon, if you think about it, is full of these war metaphors. You have magic bullets. If you want to treat something, it needs to be this problem. It's in the disease box. We're at war with this or that disease. But those metaphors are not really aligned with what I've shared with you. The science, the math is showing who we are. Who we are is this interconnected matrix of all of reality. So are we at war with ourselves? Are we at war with nature? How can we be at war with nature when we are, in fact, nature's expression, an expression of it? And so as we look at shaping a new reality, we need to not just think of the new and the novel therapies I've talked about. We also need to think of a new lexicon, a new language that is in tune with what we now know is the reality of who we are. That language should be interoperable, it should be unified, and it should allow the multiple disciplines and silos to connect. And it's for that reason that I started the Healing Future Health Summit back in 2018 and then in 2019. And in the 2019 summit, what we did was to have a graphic writer capture the vibe of what was in the room as a way of sketching what that language should look like, what the areas should be involved in. I made that mention because expanded access and new kinds of regulatory frameworks that are adaptive are critical for us to have the breakthroughs that we need get from high quality providers to patients in need of alternative healing solutions. And so to wrap up, to conclude, what I'd like to share with you is this. We are creators. Imagination, creativity, and the scientific art of staying alive is about the work we do, what we create. I've shared with you being a creator of systems and helping navigate people through the fields of the existing system. It's also about tuning ourselves to connect with the vast galactic body of knowledge that we are connected to naturally. You will have seen pictures in the background of my paintings. So there is no distinction between being a physical artist and the art of science. Being a scientist and an artist are part of the same whole. And so I share with you that because of a personal system that over the last 2 decades I've developed that is about helping us stay alive, being curious, being energetic, being adaptive, being kind and empathetic to ourselves and to people around, being conscious, raising our consciousness, being bold, and also being real. Staying in touch always with the evolving knowledge and formalizing of our reality. In that way, I believe we'll find new ways of staying alive.